everyone. This is Doug Kenny along with Andy McPhee, who's behind a Relentless and Unstoppable logo. And we welcome you to Tales from the Rails. And we have the Winelands Railway operator, Andries, with us. Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. And just so everybody knows, that isn't my face on there. I'm not able to operate my camera at the moment, and some people will be going, that's really great. We don't really want to look at you, Andy. And thanks, Andries. Now, Doug, you want to just let everybody know where Andries is situated?
Yeah, where are you situated, Andries?
So I'm at the very bottom tip of the African continent, just outside of Cape Town in South Africa.
Wow. And what time is it over there?
It is now 6 p.m., but it is the height of summer, so the sun is still out. We are completely overrun by a heat wave here at the moment, and it's quite unbearable to be outside. This past weekend, it was the hottest spot on the planet for, I think it was the 21st of February, the date, the hottest spot on the planet for the 21st of February.
Wow.
So it is very uncomfortable.
Yeah. How hot was it?
41 degrees Celsius, which is about 106 Fahrenheit, if my Americanization calculations is correct here.
Oh, wow. That's getting too hot.
Absolutely.
Well, I know friends of mine in Australia, because I'm based in Los Angeles and Doug's in Arizona. They've had a week of 30 degrees, like pretty much, well, the last week and a half. And even that, once it gets up to that mark, it just gets unbearable after a while. But yeah, 40 over 40, you can have that. That's all.
No, thanks. And there's another round of it coming this coming weekend. So I'm not really looking forward to that.
Gee whiz. Put on your sunblock out.
I'm actually sitting under the air conditioner right now. I don't dare go outside.
Well, look, thanks for joining us. And as we let everybody know, this was Doug and myself. We also run the Relentless and Unstoppable interviews, which are a completely different platform. But it was Doug's idea, actually, to set this up because I was an engineer in the railways for about 13 to 14 years in Australia, many, many years ago. And I still love trains. And when I head back to Australia, I take my young son out and we go train spotting and chasing trains all over the place. So Doug suggested, why don't we set this up? And it's been really great fun, connecting up with people around the world. So I'll hand it back to Doug for a bit. He's got a few questions lined up at you, and we can, learn a little bit about the Winelands Railway.
Sure thing.
Yeah, Andries, why did you start the Winelands Railway?
Why is a very difficult question, really. I think it's mostly to do that I'm completely addicted to trains. And there is no cure for it at the end of the day. And because I can't have a big one, this is probably the biggest one I could have at the time when I started. So it's a hobby that I've been involved in from the age of 19, up to 13, actually. My first engine I started at 19. And when I finished building the locomotive 5 years later, it was sort of pointless. It just sat in the garage. So it had to become something. And so I built some track, and then I built some wagons, and more and more and more. And eventually I had to find a place for all this stuff. And we ended up finding a location, a very touristy sort of hotspot, just outside Stellenbosch, which is the Winelands area of South Africa. And that is why I built a railway. I needed a purpose for the stuff that I built. And I think we found a pretty good purpose for it.
Wow, that's amazing. So, just a question off that. Just thinking of the planning and the engineering of how did you actually get all that together to go, right, we've got to build track and I've got to obviously have people to help me?
I'm trying to think back quickly how I did it here. And it's, if I look at the photographs of the stuff as it came together, this railway was constructed in 18 months from the time that I found it to the time that we opened it. It was 7 days a week of labor non-stop, from making the track. Most of the equipment was already built. The locomotives were now built. The track, the coaches were made. I made 5 new wagons in that time as well, because I thought that I'd be a bit short. What else did we make? The stations, the bridges, the tunnels. So everything was built very quickly. I employed some local labor, like as a builder, for example. I had a chap that did the brick and mortar work. But most of the engineering work I had to do myself. I am not a multi-millionaire. I'm just a young, enthusiastic guy that ended up with a hobby that needed a space for it to grow. And so I had to learn everything myself. If there was a skill that I didn't have, I had to go out and find it. And there are a lot of people out there that know all this stuff, particularly older people that's been in the trade for many years. And I find that if you approach them and you ask them the right questions, they will tell you everything they know. And they're actually pretty excited to tell you the stuff that they know and show you. They'll never do it for you for free. They will tell you how to do it, and you have to go and do it yourself. So it's not a case of me getting a bunch of people in here to do everything. I had to learn every trick and do it myself.
Holy cow.
It was a lot of work.
I mean, that's incredible, isn't it, Doug? Like, just you think of, like, just listening to you now and the amount of planning and work and getting it all together. I mean, it's great when you see the finished product, but boy, it must have been stressful at times.
It's very terrifying, because where do you start? If you have a blank canvas and you need to start a painting, like on the wall behind me, where do you start? Do you start in that corner? Do you start in that corner? Or, so if your options are endless, that's also quite tricky, because there's no direct start point. So how do you build a railway? Well, you start at the beginning and you finish never, because it's never complete. It's always something you can add to, which is also great. It's a lifetime project. But to try and figure everything out, there was earth moving involved. There was drainage involved. The property was relatively flat, but from the lowest to the highest point is about a 3-meter drop. I'm trying to think in feet terms now. That's about 9 foot, I'd say. So all the one side of the property was filled where the dam is constructed and the bridge is constructed, and all on the other side was cut. But the next trick is, I'm not from this area, so I don't know anybody here. I moved to a completely new location. I had to learn about all the different suppliers, and I had to learn about the soil type that we've got here. And the particular soil type on this piece of land is more suited to making clay bricks than it is to building railways on top, because it's actually just clay. It's about this much topsoil where the lawn grows in, and the rest is just clay. So there's movement involved, there's compaction issues, there's drainage, as I say. So all of that had to be thought about. Also, now that we're dealing with the heat, the track expands, which is normal for metal. And I calculated over the longest distance of straight track, which is 185 meters, at the most extreme weather that I calculated it for the area that I was from, at the very most, I would get 3 inches of expansion over that distance. And we are very much now at the limit of it, having gone over it, exceeding the calculated temperatures that I expected we were going to have. But it is an exceptional time. I can now cut open more expansion joints and make sure that the track can move. But that's that sort of stuff that you have to learn. So it's not just a case of arriving somewhere and slamming a bit of track into the ground and making it work. There's a whole formula to it. There's a flow in visitors, for example, that you have to direct in the right areas. So your station is very important. Your display areas is very important. Your steaming bays, which are normally a mess, so that needs to be put out of the way. So that's the sort of stuff you have to consider. So it was one hell of a learning curve, I can tell you that much. And I've learned so much so that I know that I still don't know everything, and it terrifies me because there's more stuff to figure out.
It's incredible, like just one man's dream and passion, to have it end up like that. It's just amazing.